Good morning, mother opers. It's Friday morning, the 15th of February, 2019. Hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day. And if you're up this morning on the East Coast, my guess is maybe not so much. Anyways, as you can see in the title today, we're going to be talking about the Jillian Michaels CrossFit video at around 7:30 this morning. I got out of here a few minutes ago and started warming up before the ride, so I've got about a mile and a half in already. Anyways, hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's gonna have a great weekend. And for me personally, if you've never watched this before, I'll give you kind of a bit of a background of what's going on. So, if you're one of my friends or family, you know back in 2012, I was able to lose around 67 pounds. Had a pretty good transformation over an 8-month period of time. Well, over the last 5-6 years, for various reasons, I've gained a lot of that fat back. This year on January 4th, I was supposed to have an umbilical hernia surgery, and the surgeon suggested that it might be smarter that I lose some weight before I have that surgery, just to have less complications, and also to get my blood sugar back in better control. So that's a quick summary of what led me to this craziness that I'm in the middle of now. Well, obviously I wanted to get back to doing more cardio work. The problem is I didn't want to do it in a gym because my ego would have had me lifting weights again. So real quickly, I decided to do what you're seeing here now, which is I'm riding my bike. Oh man. Hang on a minute, I gotta get a couple other things rolling here. Anyways, I chose to ride my bike as my form of exercise. I have my Raleigh Willard 2 gravel bike attached to a Wahoo Kickr 18, which is a smart trainer. And of course we're using Zwift, the application, to do our training. And then of course I'm also streaming this across Twitch, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live. And I'm doing the streaming for a few different reasons. Primarily for myself, just to keep myself accountable. I can tell you that last night I got working on a few projects and I didn't finish till after midnight. And if I wasn't doing this, and if I hadn't committed to the schedule of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., that I likely would have just hit the snooze button and not done this morning. Because only getting a few hours of sleep, I would have let that be an excuse. So this helps me stay more accountable. I have quite a few friends that do jump on here, so I know that laying it out there publicly that I'm going to do this, and then having you guys chime in while I am doing it, just kind of reaffirms that I need to stick to that schedule. So you help me when you comment, and I do appreciate it. And we've gained a few friends around the world that jump on, more specifically on the Twitch application. And they've been very helpful because a lot of them already know how to use this program, which I'm new to. I'm new to streaming, so I've had to figure all this out in the last month. I'm new to the Zwift application, and there's a lot of intricacies between how to operate it, what courses you should do with the training, things like that. And so I've appreciated everybody that's jumped on and helped me out, and that continue to get on here and guide me and push me. It's very, very important for me. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, in the beginning there was a lot of issues, and I've worked most of them out so far. So the sound was probably the last thing that I had to figure out, and I think we've got that pretty good. The graphics was a challenge at times. I think we've got that settled. So there's been a lot of work, but everybody that's helped, along with the YouTube channels that I've used to help me learn how to do this, I appreciate all of them. But what I'll tell you about one of the challenges that I'm almost apologizing for in advance is that it is sometimes difficult for me to catch the comments while I'm riding and read them. And it's very challenging, what I've discovered, to actually have a bit of a conversation. So your brain seems to get into this mode where you're not thinking as clearly. So what I find a lot of times during these commentaries is that it becomes harder to be clear on your articulation of what you're trying to say. And so certain words seem to lose themselves while I'm riding. So if I sound a little bit incoherent at times, that's part of the reasoning. Now, any of my real friends will just say I'm just getting old. And I'm not going to disagree with them. A little housekeeping. Like I said, you guys can jump on and make comments throughout the ride here, and I have an application that allows me to actually see your messages across all Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And so don't be afraid to say something. What I found after rewatching some of the videos is that I misread some of your comments, so I apologize if my response is, again, incoherent, but I'm either old, blind, or something. But again, I do appreciate you guys being here. It does help. My biggest goal right now is to ride Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. I've committed to that, and so far I've stuck to that commitment, even on days I really don't want to do it. Once I start getting better, I plan to ride 5 days a week at the same time, I think. I'm going to tell you this, from a schedule standpoint, I plan on doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I don't really feel like I'm going to end that. And I just want that consistency and commitment. What I do Tuesdays and Thursdays and possibly on the weekend may not involve streaming. And I also may ride more once it gets nice out besides this schedule. And I should be able to do that depending on what kind of training I'm doing as far as what I do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, but we'll see. Right now that's the schedule, so if you want to get on. And then the other thing that I chose to do is to keep it a little bit more exciting, or interesting I should say, is to have each ride have some form of conversation. And so tomorrow morning, or I'm sorry, this morning at around 7:30, we're going to discuss CrossFit, and specifically the video that Jillian Michaels put out on her feelings on CrossFit. And if you don't know who Jillian Michaels is, you're not missing much, in my opinion, if you have watched this video. But you should take a minute and watch this short Instagram video that she put out on her thoughts on CrossFit. And so we'll discuss that, and then obviously my opinion, for what that's worth, about CrossFit, whether it's good or bad. So we'll do that at 7:30. So the schedule that I've kind of got set up right now for these rides is I start off my morning just kind of giving you guys the background of what's up, and then all right, man, good morning. Hey, the more the merrier, right? Enjoying the journey. It's fun. I really have enjoyed my using the Zwift app and doing the streaming. It's been fun for me so far. It's been frustrating trying to figure out how to get it done, but yeah, I appreciate you being there. So anyway, so the first half of the rides, or at least in the beginning, I just kind of go through the background, and then I've chosen that 30 minutes in we'll have a discussion of a topic, which is only really about 15 minutes of discussion, 15 to 20 minutes, and that's kind of the idea. And again, I give you that schedule, so I mean, I know your time's precious, and I know that watching videos like this can almost be like watching paint dry. I mean, so to just watch somebody ride their bike doesn't seem very exciting to me. It's a little bit, it's not as bad as, or it's a little bit better than watching, like I said, paint dry or baseball outside the World Series. But anyways, it's not real exciting to continuously come back. So if there's a point in which you want to get involved in the conversation, that's why I set that schedule. So you know that at 7:30 we're going to have whatever the discussion is. And of course, I have to be off the bike by 8 a.m. or around 8 a.m. so I can start getting ready for my day. And so that limits how far we get into each subject. Now eventually, and I didn't do it this last time, and I should have, but eventually I'll start adding on with a follow-up blog, which will include a copy of the video and then any points that people made, and maybe expanding on the subject a little bit. So I plan on doing that in the future, but I do have a lot of commitments, so that's why I haven't done it yet. So I do have a job, just like any normal person. I do have other responsibilities. I'm working with one of my buddies right now, and he wants to start doing some videos for a project that he has. And one of the things for me is that I used to have a Mac, and so I had a very specific editing program that I use, and I was very used to how that worked, and I've begrudgingly kept myself from learning anything else. And so it's been over a year since I've really done any video editing, and took a long time trying to figure out what editor I wanted to use, and got overwhelmed, frustrated as far as learning it. And so what I chose to use for any of you fellow nerds out there, or anybody that's trying to do video editing, is a free open source program. And now I'm drawing a blank. It'll come to me here in a second. But anyway, so we've had to start relearning how to use that particular video editor without getting overly complicated. And so that's been taking up a lot of time. I have another major project that, you know, my daughters are 11 and 12, and from day one I planned on putting all of the photos and videos of them into their own separate files and having copies in several places so I don't lose those memories. But that was an intention that I never really followed up on, and so now I'm taking the effort of the last 12 years and trying to put these photos and videos that are all over the place into their own specific storage area, so that as they grow, it's going to be easier for me to find these different events that I want to look back on. And more specifically, when I want to cut a video for them when they graduate, to celebrate their their younger years, and of course when they get married and when they have children. And so I'm in the process of finally putting all of that together, and as you can imagine, that is a pain in the arse. So, and it's obviously not just them. There's some of my journey that I find when I'm going through these pictures, and then, you know, my father and my mother and my sister and my grandmother, grandfather, aunts, uncles. And so it's not just trying to find pictures of my daughters, it ends up being this bigger project that I'm involved in. And of course, last night was one of those nights where I really got in a groove and got stuck going through pictures until, I don't know what time it was. It had to have been after 1 a.m. So it's you know, it's exciting, and of course you can't just go through your pictures and not reminisce and not stop and think and reflect. And so, you know, that's part of why it took so long. And it's just like this, where I'm streaming and riding and I don't realize how much time I've taken. It kind of goes by fast. Well, that's what happened to me last night, because I was so entrenched in that project that didn't even realize, didn't even realize I didn't realize how late it was. So, oh, it finally came to me. See, see what I mean? I'm either getting old or something about riding makes my mind kind of slip. But so the video editing software that I use is DaVinci Resolve, and of course version 15, and I think it's 15.2 now. And if you've ever wanted to get into video editing, one of the challenges, or doing something with your videos, I should say, one of the challenges is the video editing. And one of the first challenges is figuring out what video editors you're going to use, because there's a lot of choices. And then I can promise you, whatever one you do choose, even though I think a lot of them are very similar in how they function, you're just going to stick to whatever you start with. So DaVinci is free, and it is also one of the more powerful video editing softwares out there. It's what a lot of TV shows use. It's what a lot of professionals use, Hollywood people in Hollywood. So it's got a lot of power. You can buy a paid version for 200 and some odd US dollars that gives you some more functionality, but for most of you, including myself, it's not necessary at all. Now, it is a little bit overwhelming and over your head, so I suggest you find a beginner's guide to learning how to use it, and just learn the basics in the beginning. And if you have any questions, and maybe we'll get into that in another discussion, but I'll tell you guys my experience and some of the things that I've learned over the years as it relates to your background music, which is something that is one of the bigger challenges when it comes to YouTube, is finding music that won't get copyright striked. And I can tell you that that topic, and you may not know what I'm talking about, but that topic on the YouTube world is pretty big. Matter of fact, my last video was striked from an artist that I actually had permission to use their track, and they still striked me because there's a lot of flaws in the YouTube system as it relates to that process. And so you won't see my video from 2 days ago up right now, because I'm discussing with YouTube why I had that strike. So, not that any of that really matters to you guys, but for me, it just kind of pisses me off, to be honest with you, that I even have to deal with this when I try to be very careful and respectful of copyrighted items, and that I give credit to everybody. So, the background music I have going right now is a YouTube channel called No Copyright Music, and Of course, I have them up here on the screen. You can see it right next to my wattage and my heart rate. So I run that so you can see it. I have their name up there. Of course, I can't credit every single song because I just run their playlist, and I really don't get too worried about the specific songs. And so that's a discussion that I'm having with each one of these channels to make sure that we don't have any issues. But of course, I had one on Wednesday. Boring nerd stuff, I know, but it's the reality. Well, it looks like we're on a 6% grade, so that sucks. One other mistake that I made this morning is I try to make sure that my house is closer to 60 degrees when I get rolling in the morning with a fan over my head, just so I can make it through the ride. Well, last night I left it at 70 degrees, and so it's fairly warm in here right now, and that does make it a little bit more of a challenge when it comes to the ride. So, and that's one of the problems that you'll have when you start indoor riding, is that you don't have that wind in your face to help cool you down. So you have to have a fan, and of course you've got to figure out how to, when you decide to stream, you got to figure out how to make that fan work properly so that the noise isn't an issue. And so my solution is to keep the house cool and then have a fan going on over my head. Matter of fact, a lot of people have seen this and not know what they're looking at, but right here behind me, these are actually the pull cords for the ceiling fan. And I could do something to get those moved out of the way, but I guess I'm not that ambitious. Oh man. Just gonna, while I'm taking a break here. There we go. I just wanted to make sure that the Facebook Live piece of this was actually working, so. Alright, so it looks like everything's working there. If you guys happen to be on here, do me a favor and just tell me you're out there and wave. It does help. You may not think it helps, but it helps me. I know some of this seems a little silly to some of you, especially my friends and family, but me knowing you're there helps me. So give me a thumbs up or say hi, or even message me later on. And if you're interested in doing this, I'll explain how I'm doing it. What's up, bud? Hey, Big Eric. Good morning, bud. So, yeah, as far as the basement, I actually have everything set up to go into the basement, and that's where I'm going to end up this summer for my Zwift rides, because I can maintain the temperature up here with an air conditioner, but it's going to be far too loud. Of course, it might not be too bad in the early morning, so I guess we'll just leave it to that, but I do plan on moving myself down into my basement. Yeah, the YouTube, it's funny because YouTube is so finicky, and so I'm glad that you're on there, but if I get to a point where I have to make a choice of what platforms I'm going to stream on, it's going to easily end up being Twitch and probably Facebook Live on my Oaf Life page. And I have choices as far as Facebook goes. I can stream to anything I want. I use a program called Restream.io if you're interested, and that allows you to stream to multiple platforms. I do pay a monthly service in order for me to do it on Facebook. And as long as I'm on this journey of Mission 44, which is just me trying to get down to 244 pounds, as long as I'm on this mission, I plan to keep the Facebook Live going. So at the very least, I suspect it's going to take me till at least January of 2020 to get down to my goal weight in order for me to have the hernia operation that I need. And then I'll be on my recovery. So I'll be off for a couple of months more than likely. And then I'll be back at riding and hopefully eventually back in the gym weightlifting again. And you guys around the world may not know what Planet Fitness is, but I am going to probably end up at Planet Fitness, which is coming to my hometown here, because I think it'll be, hopefully, have less meatheads in it, and my ego won't get in the way of what my goals need to be. I do have an issue, even at my ripe old age, and when I'm in a weight room and I see these young son of a guns lifting weights, I've got to remind them how much I can lift, and of course that's beyond silly. So, let's see, it is, what time is it? 7:26. So in about 4 minutes we'll get into this topic of CrossFit, specifically the Jillian Michaels Instagram video that she made on her views. So that in a few minutes we'll start talking about that, and of course my opinions, not only of her, but CrossFit in general. And so if you've got your own thoughts, if you've got your own opinions, or if you need a few minutes to go and look up the Jillian Michaels CrossFit video, please do. Let's see, I've been riding for 32 minutes. I started a little bit early. Matter of fact, I restarted twice this morning before I got on the stream. So I've been riding closer to 40 minutes now, I think. But my goal, for those of you that are new, my goal is to try to ride for a full hour, 3 days a week without stopping or slowing down. And I've stopped a couple times today already. One of the issues that you'll find when you start riding is you just gotta get your ass used to the saddle. And I'm getting there. I'm gonna buy a new saddle one of these days, or seat. One that lets my boy parts relax a little, if you get what I'm saying. But right now I'm just getting myself used to it, and I don't want to do the seat until I go to a professional bike shop and get measured so that I know what size is better for my body. Now, those of you that are thinking about doing this, like I said, I'm using a Wahoo Kickr 18 trainer, and it wasn't my first thought, but I ended up having a professional bike shop put it together for me, and I'm very happy that I did, for a couple of reasons. Primarily, I didn't even have the tools to switch out the cog set, because I run a 9-speed rear cog as opposed to the, I think, 10 or 11. I think it's an 11-speed that comes with the Kickr. So I would have either had to buy the tools and then hope I did it right, and I'm not a bike mechanic by any means. So so I suggest that if you decide to buy a smart trainer, whether it be Wahoo's version or Trax or one of the other ones, that you go to a bike shop. And it didn't cost me any extra to have to buy it there and have them set everything up. It was free. So as long as they're willing to do it for free, it's worth the money, or it's worth the time to go to the bike shop as opposed to ordering it yourself online. Unless you're advanced, unless you already have the tools and you know what you're doing, you know, that's fine. But for me, I'm new to all this, so I had a great experience. I went to Alpine Cycle in Port Huron, Michigan, and those kids were excellent. That helped me out. Oh boy. You know, I always wonder, here you can't really see me because I'm always wearing black, but I always wonder what some of these people think of me when I'm out on the trail. and 300 pounds comes flying by them at 20 miles an hour. I always wonder, like, man, I can't imagine what it really looks like, but I always wonder what people think when they see me, especially when I was in a more of a not bodybuilder, a power lifter body, you know. It's got to look pretty funny, but I've never been one to really care a whole lot about what people think, so, you know. All right, well, I'm going to take a drink, and then we're going to get into this CrossFit topic as far as it relates to Jillian Michaels. So, you got your opinion, chime in. If you don't care, thumbs down or whatever, I don't care. But we're just going to go ahead and get into this topic right now. And so, if you're in the fitness industry, you know what CrossFit is. You likely have an opinion or not. My original opinion, back in 2012, I didn't know a whole lot about it. And when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for interval training, I started looking at CrossFit. I reached out to one of my buddies, Gary Rutan, who's a trainer out in California, and we actually have the same degree. We actually went to school together, both community college and our university, which was Wayne State University in Detroit. And so he's been doing this in his entire adult life. So I asked him his opinion. He just simply said, don't do it. And whatever his reasoning was at the time, I didn't have time to really worry about it. I just didn't even look at it again for a few years, or at least a couple of years. And so his thought was that you're just going to get injured. And that did bother me, by the way, when he said that, because I'm thinking, dude, we used to run through walls, basically. So you might get injured. Who cares? I mean, that's just part of training, in my opinion. But again, I listened to him and I did other things. And we'll get back to Gary and his opinion here in a minute. But most recently, Jillian Michaels put out a short Instagram video for, I think, Shape magazine or some magazine, and she gave her opinion and her criticism, really, her problems with CrossFit. And she said that one of the problems with CrossFit was that it only had 20 to 25 movements and that they don't really vary. That you're doing those movements over and over and over again, and that it eventually stops being effective because you're not challenging your body from variation of angles and push-pull and different movements, something. I'm trying to read this right now so I don't misquote what she had stated. And then, of course, on the other end of that spectrum is what CrossFit says CrossFit is. And they say that it's the key to health and fitness. This is right off their website. It says CrossFit is a lifestyle characterized by safe, effective exercise and sound nutrition, which I'll debunk that one in a minute. CrossFit can be used to accomplish any goal, from improved health to weight loss to better performance. The program works for everyone, people who are just starting out and people who have trained for years. The workout, let's see, the magic is in the movements. Workouts are different every day and modified to help each athlete achieve his or her goals. And don't worry about the word athlete. That's my commentary, by the way. CrossFit workouts can be adapted for people at any age and level of fitness. They say the lifestyle, off the carbs, off the couch, the CrossFit lifestyle, combination of diet and exercise is key to fitness and long-term health. And then the community, your support network, and more than 15,000 affiliates around the world. People encourage and motivate each other in every class as they work towards their goals, and you can start training with friends. So that's CrossFit, and then before that, that's what Jillian Michaels had to say about it. So before I get a whole lot into what she had to say, let me just tell you that I believe that her videos and giving her opinion, which she also gives opinions on, I think she's got something out there about keto diets and things like that and how she doesn't like that. So I think these kind of videos that she's doing, my opinion, I think she's just trying to make herself relevant again. Because if you know who she is, her fame comes from the TV show The Biggest Loser as a trainer. And that's been off air for a long time. Of course, she had her own issues while she was on that show. And so I think that in some aspect of these opinions she's giving, it's just to make herself relevant again and to start getting views and make people pay attention to her. That's kind of my thought of why the hell she's even doing this. Because her comments about why she has issues with CrossFit are completely ignorant. It just, by the comments alone, for anybody that's done CrossFit for any period of time, which I don't do right now, but I have done, is completely ignorant. 20 to 25 movements. I don't even know what she's talking about. She needs to be more specific about that, because they always constantly vary their movements in CrossFit. Matter of fact, the whole idea of CrossFit is to create better functionality. So it's functional fitness. The things that CrossFit does for you is meant to make your life better. And so she talks about not having flexibility and mobility and all these things, and that's the complete opposite. Now, I'm sure if you stepped into a CrossFit gym for a day, that you may gain some of these opinions, but you don't see the bigger picture and how CrossFit is always varying what exercises they do. For example, when I first started working out at first generation CrossFit, they were in their power phase. And so the first few months that I was there, they were working through their power phase, so getting stronger, because it was becoming the winter months. There wasn't a lot to do outside, and so they took advantage of that to work on strength. So if my opinion was based on just that short period of time, I might think that all they ever worked on was weightlifting, and for some people that just wouldn't be right. And so I also think that each CrossFit location, which I've been to several, and I've been to several for long periods of time, they all have kind of their strength. They all have variations even in their day. Some are purely CrossFit, some modify things and have different classes that are more of a boot camp. Some are more geared towards cardio, some are more geared towards strength, some are more geared towards gymnastics. You know, so you should jump around a little bit while you find the one that works best for you, but they're not all the same, and each one of the coaches always tends to lean towards what they're good at as far as the type of workout. So for instance, I have a friend of mine, Kristen Wilson, who no longer works at a CrossFit gym. She actually has her own boot camp gym, and her strength, which was great for me when I first started, was cardio. And so all of her workouts really worked on your cardiovascular health, because that's what she's good at. She's not a strength person, even though she works on it, or she wasn't then at least. I'll tell you that, giving kudos to her, she works so well at it that she's become an expert, in my opinion, in many of the lifts, including the Olympic lifts. But I digress. So Jillian Michael's saying that there's only 20-25 movements. They don't really vary. You're doing them over and over and over again, and you're not really challenging your body the way you should. I think is a whole bunch of bullshit. Even to the point that she's contradicting her own style that she's become famous for over the years. And what I'm specifically want to state as it relates to her is that, you know, she puts out these workout videos. Well, if somebody was just to follow her workout videos over and over and over again, well, they would be doing the same few movements for whatever period of time that particular program was. So I don't really think she has a lot to say when it comes to not being buried, because she profits off of that. She also is trying to profit off of CrossFit at this point, because what she's really doing, in my opinion, is saying, hey, look at me. And for any of you that don't know what CrossFit is, and you've heard the horror stories that people have made, and it's only one little small incident here and there, you know, don't worry about what they are doing. I'm just going to tell you it's bad, and please do what I'm doing. So that gets me back to, how did I even end up in CrossFit when I was told by my friend not to do it? Well, I reached back out to him before I did join CrossFit, and I said I wanted more information of what his thoughts were on why. You know, being injured didn't mean much to me. And he really didn't have an answer. And what I found was that it was because somebody in his circle had basically told him not to do it, and how dangerous it was, and that people were doing movements that they shouldn't be doing. And I'm not disagreeing that there aren't terrible trainers out there that have people doing things they shouldn't do, but that's the whole industry in general. You know, Gary and I both have Bachelor's of Science degrees in exercise sciences, and we trained from a very early age, and we learned how to train properly. But the problem with the health industry is that in a 24-hour period of time, you can take an online test and become a certified personal trainer. And I've witnessed it over and over and over again, where some young 20-nothing or even teenager has been certified as a personal trainer, and they're out training people and telling them how to do things, and they don't even know what the hell they're doing. They're not qualified, and that certification is about as good as a piece of toilet paper you've got in the restroom in most cases. So the industry as a whole is very flawed. And just because somebody has a certificate doesn't mean shit. Matter of fact, one of the things that pissed me off years ago was that even though I wasn't doing it as a profession, I know what I know the ins and outs of health and wellness. No matter how fat I am, I do know the ins and outs of health and wellness. It's been a part of my life since I was 12 years old, as far as truly studying and applying what I learned. And so, and then of course I went and got a degree in it. So to have somebody that's got a 24-hour certificate, or even a 7-day certificate, or whatever the hell it took them to read a couple of books, doesn't mean they know anything. As a matter of fact, even people that have been in it for a long time, even if they went and got certified, they still don't know anything beyond themselves. They don't know the different bodies. They don't know how to train different people. And so people even like Jillian Michaels, they have to generalize everything they do anyway. So their opinion on a specific person means nothing to me. You know, now I do look up to her as far as what she's been able to accomplish, because no matter how much you bitch about somebody, when they went out there and just got it done, you got to give them kudos. But anyways, I got on a bit of a tangent, a little bit of a, you can tell I take some of this a little personal that I shouldn't. But anyways, so I'd reached back out to Gary, asked him his opinion. He really didn't have one. You know, it was just more of a, well, because I said so. So I got into CrossFit. I got into CrossFit before I wanted to get into CrossFit, by the way. I actually wanted to do a boot camp first and lose a little bit of weight, get myself into some shape before I went to CrossFit. But one of the local boot camps was just some shady people, and couldn't give me a price on what the monthly membership would be. And by the time everything got said and done, the way they dealt with me personally just kind of turned me off to them specifically, and I ended up going to CrossFit before I really planned on it. And then I found Kristen and worked more on cardio, which is all I cared about. Worked on some of the movements. You can see at Oath Life on the YouTube channel one of my first CrossFit days, and at that point I was only a power lifter, and I actually hadn't really done a lot of Olympic lifting at that point, so I was poor at it. And so you'll notice that in some of even the lifts in that video. But I really did enjoy CrossFit when I was doing it. I specifically enjoyed first generation CrossFit, which is a bit of a drive for me to get to. But that particular box or gym, those guys were good fun. They really were always innovating what they were doing. They have a workout right now that's CrossFit Light that you can go to that's not as much of the weightlifting, it's more of the cardio. And they've developed that over time. But I have an issue, me personally, with CrossFit as it relates to me, as far as my body and my ego. And so I'm unfortunately always trying to do things I shouldn't do. I've had a couple of knee surgeries. I still have a very bad lower leg, and I should never even consider jumping on a box, and I still do it because I don't want people to look at me, and that's all ego. That's my own issues. And then of course with this hernia, there's some things I just need to stay away from, that kind of deal. So the best exercise for me personally, it's not that I don't like CrossFit, that I shouldn't be doing it, is that this is the right thing for me right now. And I do eventually plan on going back to CrossFit eventually once I get this hernia operation next year and get my body back to it. I really do want to keep that involved in my life. I don't want to get involved in too much of the Olympic lifting, so deadlifts and all of that. So when they're in those strength phases, I'll either change my gym, or I'll just come back to the bike only during that time, just to protect myself from myself. But hey, good morning, Robbie. I see you're on here on Facebook. Oh yeah, and by the way, my buddy Rob Allison wanted me to give him a shout out the other day. I think he thought I was on at the time when he was commenting. But hey Rob, I hope you're doing good this morning if you're watching. And I think your suggestion was for me to stop eating pizza, you fat ass. So, note taken. I'm not going to do it, but note taken, bud. So anyways, my overall opinion of CrossFit is that I think everybody should try it. If you got friends that are doing it, or if you're curious, just go do it, you know. But I also am the guy that'll tell you that I don't care what you do, just do it. Do something. If it's ride a bike like I'm doing, then do it. If it's go to a boot camp, do it. If it's just get on a treadmill, do it. Just do something. You know what I mean? Thanks, Tina. You know, the number one goal at this point is 244 pounds. I don't know what I weigh right now because I've been not following too great of I haven't been eating right, let's put it that way. And so that's a battle I've got to deal with over the next, hopefully, couple of weeks, that I can get past some of these late night eating, and then obviously the amount, and then the type of food I'm eating. But that's just a daily battle that I'm going through. I'm somebody that's quit smoking years and years ago, and so I love smoking. I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. And so to get past that addiction, I know I can get past anything eventually. I just got to keep sticking to it mentally, and then not beat myself up when I fail too much. Hold myself accountable. And of course, it's easy for you guys to hold me accountable when it comes to the exercise. It's easy for you guys to jump on here. Good morning, Kristen. Just got done talking about you. Kristen's on Facebook right now, and I can see she joined in. So it's easy for you guys to hold me accountable for the exercise side of this, making sure that I'm here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. When I'm not here, you can reach out to me and, you know, tell me where the hell were you or whatever. But it's not as easy for people to hold me accountable for what I eat, when I eat, and all of that, because I'm not broadcasting my life 24/7. And so that's something I've got to work on. But I do need you guys to always hold me accountable for the exercise and making sure that I'm checking in, that I'm getting on here. The only time you won't see me on here, as far as, thanks Kristen, As far as Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, is if for some reason the internet's down. Other than that, you're gonna see me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday while I challenge myself to lose weight. And the result of my efforts is gonna be that I'm gonna have a better cardiovascular health. I'm gonna be off some of the medications and hopefully have my type 2 diabetes in better control, which that seems to fluctuate quite a bit. But I will tell you, if you're wondering if you can beat type 2 diabetes, well, one, you'll never beat it. You're always just going to be controlling it. But if you're wondering if this type of cardiovascular exercise actually helps or doesn't help, in my experience, it helps almost immediately. So getting that exercise in, you know, and find a way to do it. Back in 2012 when I was working, I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was first starting, just so I could knock out my 1 hour of workout, get ready, and be to work by 6 a.m. So I didn't let time be an excuse. And I'm telling you to do the same thing. Commitment I made back in 2012 was a little bit different than now because nobody saw whether I did it or not. It was all on me. But what I told myself was, if I didn't do it at 6 or 4 a.m., that I'd make sure I did it as soon as I got home. And then if I didn't do it when I got home, that I wouldn't go to sleep before I got that workout done. And I was on that T25 Sean T program or whatever, I think is what I was doing, which was way too much for me at the time. But and I did that. There was nights that I would not do my workout until 11 o'clock at night, and I'd be back up the next day at 4 a.m. So just make those commitments. The other thing is don't beat yourself up when when you fail. It's okay. I mean, if you have a cheat meal and you didn't, you just don't have two. Don't have two in a row. If you got a bad day, don't have a bad second day. If you have a bad second day, don't have a bad third day. Just keep fighting. And that's what I did back then, and that's kind of the mentality that I have now. My opinion in the past was that as long as I was going 90% all the time, that I was going to reach my goals. What I mean by that is, if I followed my diet at the time, at least 90% of the time, that I would actually achieve those goals. If I stayed on the exercise program, at least 90% of the time, I would reach those goals. And then, as you can see in the before and after, it worked. I mean, that wasn't a 90-day transformation, that was an 8-month transformation. But I think we'd all agree that that's fairly remarkable to pull off in even 8 months. So I use those pictures not only to inspire you, but to remind myself that I can do it. So as boring as it may be to see those every time you watch me, they're not just there for you, they're there for me. Oh. And if you're wondering whether or not, and I say this every time, but if you're wondering whether or not Zwift is something for you, I'm going to tell you, you really need to check it out. Even if you're not a cyclist, if you're a walker or a runner, they actually have a running program where you can just buy a very inexpensive little module you put on your shoe, jump on your treadmill, and you can be on the same path with me. Matter of fact, whenever I get to a hilly section, a lot of times you'll see somebody run right past me because they're skinny and fast and I'm fat and not fast. So, but yeah, you can get on Zwift and do it as a run instead of a ride. And so it just makes it very interesting. Now it is a monthly subscription, so you're gonna pay, I think, around $14 a month to have Zwift, but you can do a 25-mile trial for free to see if it's for you. And it really, there's no time limit from my understanding. It's actually 25 miles. Once you get into 25 miles, then you have to pay. But up to that point, you can just be watching if you want. So it's definitely worth it. And then, again, the other thing I always say is, if you're thinking about streaming, do that too. So, because it is such a distraction. For me personally, I can ride for an hour and it doesn't seem like more than 10-15 minutes because it's such a distraction, making sure that the stream's working, making sure that the chat part's working, that Zwift is doing what it's supposed to, all of the above. So I'm not going to put a lot into it here. Eventually I'll do a video on how to stream, what programs I use. So any of you guys that are looking to do something like this, I'll help you out in those videos. But if you just can't wait, just reach out to me on one of the messengers, and we'll either go over it through messages or we'll get on the phone and I'll talk you through what I've done or what I've learned to this point. So there you go. We're down to 10 seconds and I'll have my hour in, and I'll have done it before 8 a.m., which is awesome. So now I'm just going to try to jam it out. Woo! So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Monday morning at 7 a.m. If nothing else, jump in and give me a thumbs up so I know you're there. If you've got any questions, if there's a topic you think we should talk about, let's talk about it. And I've got the weekend to figure out what Monday's topic's going to be. I've got a couple of ideas so far. But I appreciate you guys being here. It helps me a lot. Hopefully it's been slightly entertaining. If you've got more opinions as it relates to CrossFit, and or your opinion from Jillian Michael, what she has to say about it, throw it in the comments. And I will be doing a blog down the road about this particular topic, and we'll get into more depth of my opinion along with her opinion and along with the CrossFit community's opinion. So I welcome anything you have to say. So I appreciate you guys being here, and peace.